For more than 102 years, no one had stepped inside the old house at the edge of Saint-Véran, a quiet village tucked deep within the French countryside. Its doors remained sealed, its windows stayed dark, and its silence grew heavier with every passing decade.
Ever wondered where you really come from? Not the stories, but the science. On this channel, we decode real DNA, uncover lost ancestries, and bring ancient genomes to life through cinematic storytelling. If that excites you, subscribe for weekly insights. Like the video to support science-based history, and drop a comment. Your questions help guide what we explore next.
The villagers walked past it every day without a second glance. Children were warned not to play near it. Tourists were never pointed in its direction. Over time, the house stopped being a place and became a boundary, something you simply did not cross. No one remembered exactly when it was last opened. No one could say why it was abandoned, and no one, until recently, dared to ask what was still inside. That changed when investigative filmmaker Etienne Moreau came across a single fading mention of the house buried in a regional archive. One sentence stood out: "Property sealed by family request, access forbidden." No explanation followed. Etienne had spent years chasing forgotten places, abandoned hospitals, wartime bunkers, shuttered estates. But something about this house felt different. It wasn't ruined, it wasn't vandalized, it wasn't reclaimed by nature. It was preserved. After weeks of inquiries, he discovered the house technically still had a legal caretaker, an elderly notary named Henri Lavoisier, whose family had overseen the property for generations. When Etienne asked what was inside, Henri paused for a long moment before replying, "You may enter, but once you do, the house will no longer belong to the past." On a cold autumn morning, Etienne stood before the front door with a small camera crew. The wood was dry, cracked, and pale with age. Ivy crawled up the walls like frozen veins. When Henri unlocked the door, the sound echoed unnaturally loud. The hinges screamed as the door slowly opened, exhaling air that hadn't moved in over a century. Inside, there was no dust storm, no rot, no collapse. Instead, there was order. A coat hung neatly by the entrance. Shoes were aligned beneath a bench. A clock on the wall had stopped at 11:17. It felt less like entering an abandoned house and more like interrupting someone who had simply stepped out. Room by room, the discovery grew more unsettling. The kitchen table was set for two. Plates rested where hands once reached. A loaf of bread, long petrified, sat beneath a cloth. In the living room, armchairs faced one another as if a conversation had been paused mid-sentence. Nothing had been stolen, nothing had been rearranged. Even the curtains were still tied back, allowing sunlight to fall exactly where it had a century earlier. Etienne noticed something chilling. There were no signs of struggle, no damage, no urgency, no attempt to flee. Whoever lived here had not run. They had simply stopped. At the end of a narrow hallway stood a single locked door, darker than the rest. Henri hesitated before opening it. "This," he said quietly, "is why the house remained closed." Inside was a bedroom unlike any other. The air felt different, thicker, heavier, almost respectful. A narrow bed stood against the wall, its linens perfectly smoothed. On the desk lay handwritten letters tied with string. A military cap rested atop a folded uniform. Boots sat beneath the bed, polished and untouched. Photographs lined the walls, family portraits, school pictures, a young man smiling in uniform. The room belonged to Julien Morel, the homeowner's only son. Julien Morel was drafted into the French army in 1917. He wrote home frequently, promising he would return once the war ended. He never did. Killed during the final months of World War I, Julien died before receiving his last letter from his parents, a letter that was still sealed on the desk. Devastated by grief, Julien's parents made a decision that stunned the village. They locked his room exactly as it was. Then they closed the rest of the house. They ordered that nothing be touched, not for decades, not for generations. When they passed away, the request was legally enforced. The house wasn't abandoned, it was a memorial. Rumors eventually replaced facts. Locals spoke of curses, whispers, and shadows, not because they experienced them, but because grief that deep makes people uncomfortable. It was easier to believe the house was haunted than to accept the truth, that love can be so powerful it refuses to move on. Etienne explained that every caretaker honored the promise: no tours, no exceptions, no explanations. Until now. As Etienne stood in Julien's room, he realized something profound. This wasn't a shocking discovery because it was scary. It was shocking because it was human. Every object carried intention. Every silence carried memory. For 102 years, time had respected grief. When the door finally closed again, Etienne knew the house would never feel the same, but its story would finally be told. Sometimes, the most shocking discoveries aren't hidden treasures or dark secrets. Sometimes, they're reminders of love that refused to fade. What do you think? Was the family right to seal the house forever, or should the past always be shared? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.